Right, Dave. Now, this is not something I do on the Great Ouse because it doesn't tend to do very much unless it's in flood conditions where it's unfishable, full of weed, and
especially at 20 gram.
So I don't have any knowledge on this at all. So enlighten me, mate.
Well, I mean, flat float fishing is something that's become more and more popular on spate rivers that I fish a lot. You know, like the Severn and the Wye, and then you've got rivers like the Trent. They lend themselves to this style of fishing at certain times. And where we always use, if the river was up and coloured, we'd always used to just river it to like ledgering or a feeder. Sometimes it's just so much better. It's such a better way of presenting your bait accurately.
Yeah.
I'll give you some examples. First of all, just talking about the floats, I mean, we did two different types. They're all constructed from very hard foam, like roller self hard foam. And the way these are constructed, I mean, if you just look at this big one, you'll see a lot of floats have just got a short stem passing through the body, and then there's a wire there as well. And when they make those, they're just going straight through. My early samples were the same as this, and the problem is with that, obviously that just has to be glued into the body. You just move that a bit and you break the seal, and the thing's just...
Yes.
And you'll find a lot of floats do that. Obviously you've got other designs like Creluso are popular, very different in shape. I like this round shape, it works for me. I like long stems. You know, loads of my running line floats have got long stems. I think in deep water long stems are good, better for stability. These are constructed in three different ways. You've got a tip which is glued into the body, which is coming down, you know, more or less to where my thumb is on the logo, down there. You've got a side peg, as we call it, coming in and it's glued that way. And then you've got your long wire, which is coming up and glued to almost up to where the peg is. Yeah, so three different assembly points. It gives it lots of strength.
Yeah,
right?
it's nice and durable.
They are strong. I mean, you can do a lot with them. Obviously, you can't run a car over it. It's going to go. But you know, we do sizes now. There's two different types. The number one, which runs from 2 gram to 20 gram, right? And that's obviously got. It's that. If you look at the actual shape of it and the angle of it, you know, when you're in flow, obviously your side peg is going up to your pole tip, and that tips. Right, so we're looking at flow going this way, if you like, with that.
Yeah. And
the important thing is then is to get your angles right. You'll see some of these are made by other companies. They've got pegs going up here, and then there's nothing wrong with that. You can have your pole tip higher.
Yeah.
With that, you lean on it, as I call it. You lean on your float with the pole, obviously, to get that. So you'll see a lot of people with these floats where they're using the float sometimes much too big. I see it a lot on the Warwickshire Avon where, if it's too big, you'll see, and again, let's imagine flow going this way, you'll see the float sticking like that.
Right.
Because it's not, the bottom end of it is not working with the current, right? So if you imagine the current coming down and you've got your balance right, what you're looking to achieve is to try and get that tilt. You imagine that going down to the riverbed now, this end, right? Again, your rivers, the surface of the river's there. That's what you're looking for in a presentation.
Yeah.
And if you're getting that, then obviously it's not big enough.
No.
Right, you know, if you've got a 6 gram float on it, start to, you know, if you can't beat the current, you need a bigger float. So eventually, the weight will pull it back down again.
Can you overshot them then?
You keep adding shot, or you put a bigger float on and keep adding shot.
Yeah.
Now the strange thing is with this, or the interesting thing, I mean, I remember when I had the first samples of it, I was thinking 20 gram. You've got to think about it commercially as well as individually. I now need some bigger floats than these because it's about beating the flow so you can just sit it in there so it just presents it perfectly.
Yeah.
I tend to fish these with bait droppers.
Yeah.
Right, so you bait drop it, and again on places like the Trent, you can use an awful lot of bait. You know, worms, chopped worm, castor. You can keep putting it in. You get massive perch in there. There's some huge eels in that river as well. You know, I see people just putting a little bit of bait in. If you look at the size of a perch, a 3 pound perch, you can eat a lot in one go. I've had eels where you can feel in the body they're full of casters. Right? You know, they eat a monstrous amount of bait. Now, this shape, the number one flatty, as I call it, is all for fishing laying on the bottom.
So stationary bait.
Normally, if you start off by fishing about a float length over depth, right, and away from there, and away you go. the number 2 came about. It wasn't my original design. It's something that I've looked at from some. I saw it somewhere else, and I've worked on it and made it, I think, better. Again, long stems, but this one's carbon.
I was going to say, why the carbon?
Right, very different. Now, this particular shape, when I first saw this and we had these made, I've got to be truthful. I wondered at the time whether, again, let's imagine the flow's coming towards you again. I had this feeling that it might start doing that in the current.
Yeah.
It didn't. This float, when you want to slow your presentation down, your line comes through a top eye. You put a rubber there, and there, or just 2 rubbers there. So you're coming through the top eye. You're trimming it. It's a long tip, so you're trimming it down to there. So it's coming towards you. The nice thing about this, regardless of how you drop it in the flow, even if you drop it like that, immediately swings round, and it sits perfectly. On venues like the Warwickshire Avon again, it's a great float for that because you've got locks opening and closing throughout the day, and sometimes you want to be laying on a bit, other times you want to be just easing through. Now, when you work the 2 together, right, this one you'll be fishing with the bait either over ground bait or over bait dropper bait. You're fishing that static. Right, you might go 2 float lengths over depth. You're just fishing that over your bait. This one, you're running it through, right? But the beauty of that is because it looks really weird. It's like a flag, isn't it? But when you're hanging on to that, you can slow it right down over the top of your feed. Yeah. And it just gives you that different presentation. So if you've got a lot of roach up here, for example, or dace, or fish that like the bait moving,
Yes.
then you're better. If you're missing bites sort of thing on that, even perch, sometimes perch want a half a lobworm move through rather than just static. It gives you that different presentation. That goes to 20 gram because you're looking at sitting it on the bottom.
Yeah, that's why these ones don't go as big.
It just goes to 12 gram, like, because you obviously you want to get it down quickly, and then you just want to ease it through. So imagine, again, the reason for this long tip, imagine just that much showing above the surface. Right. If you start to break it too much, you imagine that tilting now on the float, and if you start to get the body coming out, you're not doing it right.
Oh, I see.
You're putting it on, you're breaking it too much.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So imagine that now, you put the brake on, so the flow is obviously very strong there.
Yeah.
Then you've got to ease back a bit and ease it through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's extreme, then that's not the right float. Then you're probably going over to these again.
Can you still ease them through though, if you really want to?
Yeah, you can, but it's not ideal because the way it's shaped, it's all in angles, you see. So the way it's shaped, it wants to sit like that.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You can do it. You can ease it through, it's bit by bit, but it's going to jerk. It's going to be a bit jerky. Whereas that one is super smooth.
Yeah.
Right. We haven't finished. I don't think we've finished the flat float thing now. I mean, I'm finding this a really interesting way of fishing.
Yeah.
So like, watch this space, if you like. And I've got some samples coming through, 25 gram and 30 gram.
Yeah.
And I never thought for a minute I'd used floats as big as that on.
You just think the continent, as soon as you say floats like that, I just think, oh yeah, we sell quite a lot of them. But we're selling so many in this country now as well. The bigger sizes.
On the Trent, on the River Trent, I'm amazed how big we have to fish sometimes, even on a normal river.
Yeah.
And another little tip I'd give, this is my top tip for the day, if you like. Where you've got that long bristle, if you've got windy conditions, if you get yourself, and I think you sell spare hollow bristles here,
yeah, we do,
find yourself some bristles that actually are a snug fit over the top of that one. Oh, to start selling, I remember. We'll put one in the pack. Anyway, something for the future.
Yeah.
But you imagine if it's really windy, you're better off sinking your pole tip under the water. Now, again, if you imagine that and it's windy, you might want to go a bit further to keep it all out of the wind. You could actually go a bit deeper, but then you've lost your pole. If you actually extended that with another bristle, right, suddenly you stick it all underneath to beat the wind.
Yeah.
You need a strong pole for it. Don't use a match pole. Use a carp pole. I mean, my pole, I use a Coleman pole. Not very expensive. Super strong, black hydroelastic. I use black nearly all the time for this sort of fishing. Strong up lengths, big hooks, lob worms typically as bait, and dendrobenus chopped up with casters as feed. And that's it really, but it's a fantastic way of fishing. It's a really interesting way of fishing, and usually if you've got a size 10 or an 8 on, and that float goes like that, and it goes under, and you give it a second or two, you know you're going to hit something big, you know. And of course,
gudgeon come flying over your head.
no, it never happens. It's always something decent. Or nearly, it could be a small perch, but generally something
Good
big.
fish, yeah.
Number one, they work in different ways, but they can be used in both in the same swim.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah, lovely floats, beautifully made. Yeah, great stuff.
Right.
Brilliant.